Hello. I just thought I would quickly do you a overview of Unit 6 because last week many of you were self-isolating or unable to come to college, and I've had a few emails and questions about some certain areas of Unit 5 and Unit 6, so I thought I would quickly whiz through that. So if you were in college and you heard me talking about Unit 6, you don't need to listen unless you've got any questions at all. This is mainly for those that weren't able to make it last week. It's being done in my dining room. No posh editing suite will be used, so please excuse the quality, but hopefully it will help you to know what you need to do. So this is your workbook. I have one printed out. The one online on Google Classroom, some people had some issues with it. It went a bit wonky, so I've put another one up that's been realigned. If yours isn't wonky, just carry on with the first one. If it is, you can then download that as a Word document and fill it in. But let me know if you have any problems with that. So with your workbook, you need to fill out your front part. And what we need to be thinking about is if you have been on a placement, then you're going to reflect on the placement that you've been on. If you are a progressing student, so you did a work experience in your second year, you can use that as a comparison. And if you haven't been on another workplace where it asks you to compare or contrast, think about what you would do if you were working in a different sector. So if you worked in a learning disability service, what would you have done? How would it be different for somebody in elder care or in dementia services, and vice versa? Okay, so this is the workbook as you guys will know it, scrolling through. And some of these are the questions that we've been filling out in class. So your development skills and things like that. These need to be completed and full. And then it comes to the skills for working in health and social care settings, okay? And these each need to be filled out in a specific way, okay? So here it's asking for some evidence, okay? And it says there, learner reflective accounts or any diary entries. Now, if you wrote a diary, then you can submit your diary and you can use a reference to it in these boxes. If not, I just want you to think about some of the things that you might have done. And this is about bullet points, okay? So the first one here says it's all about Unit 7, okay? So the first skill it asks is, have you monitored risks and hazards in the environment through observation? Now that may be that you spotted some wet floor. It may be that you put something in the bin to keep the area clean. It may be that you did actually see quite a big hazard and you had to report it. It may be that you just kept your eye open, making sure that everybody was happy and that nobody got distressed, nobody was walking around vulnerable or when they shouldn't have been walking individually, independently without somebody there. Any of those little bits, you just bullet point and write a few words in the box, and you need to work down and answer and look at each of these things, okay? So somebody may well have asked you to move the box, but be careful because it's heavy. So you could give that as an example that, I carried all the milk bottles into the kitchen ready for tea break, okay? This can be lots of bits and pieces. It doesn't need to be a lot of detail. And if you didn't do any of those things, then that's absolutely fine. Don't make it up, just leave it blank, okay? And we will hopefully have the opportunity to revisit our placements, and we're just waiting for BTEC to tell us the guidance on that. So each page you would work your way through and you would give a few bits of information for each of those boxes. Now at the end of each section of boxes you will come across this page here. Okay, so what skills and qualities have you developed for your placement, and how can you action plan to develop these skills or qualities further? Now this is asking you specifically about the work skills you've just spoken about, okay? So maybe you didn't check out any hazards and maybe you didn't do any lifting. So you could say, my action plan is to be much more aware of hazards and risks within the workplace, and your skills that you have developed may be that now you are able to follow hand washing procedures correctly, since you have been shown that within your work experience. Okay. As we go through, you have some that are linking to Unit 5, so all about communication and body language. And many of you will have had an experience of talking to somebody that you haven't really spoken to with that condition before, so it'll give you a nice opportunity to write some things in. And it goes through, and then, as you'll see, there's another box that's asking you. Now, this time it's asking you to talk about the skills and qualities around Unit 5. So those communication skills, duty of care, safety, etc., etc. Now, it works through like this for a few units, okay? And you will need to complete that individually for that specific unit. Okay, so there's 3 sections there: Unit 2, Unit 5, and Unit 7. The next page is for me to fill out, or the person that came to observe you, and we will be using your feedback sheets that we were given from the assessors if it wasn't me. Okay. What I want you to do is have a look at Classroom. I'm going to put it up today, or it may even already be up, the reflective work. Okay, so this is the lesson that you may have been in or may have missed, and it's asking you about your reflection. So what happened, how did it go, what would you do differently, and trying it out. Okay, and this is where I want you to write your reflections down. Okay, the more detail you can give and the more information you can demonstrate that you've actually reflected using one of those reflective models, the better. Okay. Now it's asking you to reflect on specific tasks. So if you are somebody who's only been to the hospital for your 2 days, think about some of the tasks that you did within those 2 days. If you were in a care home for a whole week, think about a specific activity that you did. Maybe it was as small as sitting and having a cup of tea with somebody, right the way through to an art activity, or going out to do bowling, or lots of different activities. Okay, so an actual task. And it's asking you to reflect on 3 different tasks. Okay. When we reflect, the outcome, the goal of reflection is to come out with a new action plan. So what am I going to do? This is what happened to me. This is how I felt about it. This is what I could have done to improve. What are your goals? How am I going to improve, and what am I going to do? So this is the form for you to look at what goals you're going to do and what will that goal do. So, for example, perhaps you were quite shy for the first couple of days, and actually by day 3 you got loads more confidence. So you thought, actually, if I had been better the first day, if I had been gone in with loads and loads of confidence on the first day, I would have been able to do a lot more. Okay, so you would reflect on that and you think, okay, next time when I go to my work placement, I'm going to try not to be quite so self-conscious. I know that I've got a little bit of skill now. I've been to a work experience. I've experienced talking with other people, and I got really great feedback. So I know that I'm okay about this. I just need to bring myself with some confidence. So your goal may well be to start the week confident, okay? And what is that goal going to do? And that's what it's asking you to reflect on. So this is the form that you don't need to fill out. That's already been filled out if you've had an observation, okay? And there's a couple in there because obviously what we're hoping for is that you get to go out on another work placement, okay? Now, if you complete the whole workbook, then you will receive your pass, okay? From feedback from previous years, sometimes that isn't enough to get a merit and distinction. So what I've done is I've created you a merit and distinction help sheet, okay? Now you'll also find this on Google Classroom, and what I need from you is double side for merit and double side for distinction, okay? No more. It really doesn't need to be any more than that. What Merit is asking you to do is analyse how work experience can give you a more realistic understanding of health and social care. So we know that I can talk to you till every single week about loads of different areas of health and social care, but being in health and social care will give you that really good understanding, a more realistic understanding. So these are the sorts of things that it wants you to talk about. It then asks you to assess the importance of your own work experience, okay? So the planning that we did before, how important was that to the outcome of your experience, okay? M3 asks you to demonstrate that. So we will be able to show some of that through your observations that you had with your assessor. Maybe that was me, or maybe that was Mark, or it was one of the childcare assessors. But if there is something where you feel actually that went really well and nobody was there to see that, you could write up a little reflective account there to kind of demonstrate that skill. And then the last one there, M4, it's asking about how self-reflection can contribute to your development. Okay, and so if you have a look on Classroom, we talked about that in the lesson around how reflection gives us more awareness, and it gives us the ability to see things from different people's point of view, which then obviously helps us to see that how we can improve in the future. And when it comes to the D's, this is about justifying that. So in the M, you've said, if I do A, B, and C, that's great. D, the D part is saying, how do I justify that? Okay, how can I say that those benefits are there? D2, there is then again a demonstration. So if you want to write a reflective account, you can do. And then the bottom one there says justify how planning for and reflecting on the skills developed during your own work experience has informed your future plans. So up here it's asking you about how it contributes to your development, and this is about your future plans and your goals. So for some of you, you don't know what you want to do. Going to your work experience may well have given you a real clear indication that you either did or didn't like it. And if you did like it, it may well have shaped what you want to do in the future. Equally, you may have known exactly what you wanted to do and you were lucky enough to do a work placement that was in that area, and that made you think, yes, this is definite. I definitely want to do this, or actually, I think I might have got this wrong. This isn't what I want to do. And so that's what I want you to be justifying and talking about. Now, these paragraphs here I've taken from the spec. Okay, and so this is what I would read, and then I would read your work to see whether I felt it did that. So this is just extra information. For some of you, it will be beneficial, and for some of you, it will confuse you. If you read it and it confuses you, ignore it. Just answer the questions. It will be absolutely fine. Now on the back sheet, what I've done there is broken down all of the different areas. So some things that you can also be thinking about. Okay, so at the bottom here on D2, using feedback and action planning. So the importance of CPD, also thinking about positive and constructive feedback, highlighting areas of improvement, creating an action plan, identifying career goals. These are lots of different ways that we can use feedback and action planning, and you might want to use those within your answers for your merit and distinction to make sure that you're covering all the areas you need to talk about. Equally, if you've just got a brain block and you don't know what you're supposed to write, some of these words here will help you to write something. Okay, so if you do your 2 sheets of merit and your 2 sheets of distinction and you do your workbook, you need to just scan in or take a photo of your work experience hours. That is Unit 6 done. Now, this workbook doesn't need to be until May, so I don't want you to panic, but it's about an 8 weeks turnaround. I think you've got about 8 weeks to hand that in. That's a long time. We have done quite a lot of the work in the workbook. So I don't want those of you that think that you should get this done very quickly to worry, but equally there is a little bit of work there, so don't leave it until the end of April just in case. Okay guys, take care, bye.